I'm Stacey Wilson Hunt, contributing editor to The Hollywood Reporter, and your host for today's half hour with Peacock's All Her Fault. Please welcome series creator and showrunner Megan Gallagher. Hi, Megan.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thank you, and congratulations on this juggernaut of a limited series. A lot of us, I wouldn't say guilty pleasure fans because this show is very smart, but this shows the wonderful intersection of pulp and also social commentary, which I can't wait to talk to you about. So, congratulations. And
Thank you.
and for those who may be new to the series or haven't heard of it, what would be something that you would say to offer a primer on the show to maybe entice them to watch?
Sure. I mean, at its heart, it is definitely a twisty, turny, really entertaining thriller. It's a kidnapping story. But like you said, there's quite a lot more going on there. There's a lot of social commentary. And I think, I don't know, like all good crime shows, I think you come for the crime, but you stay for the characters. So you really stay to figure out where these people are going and what the big juicy reveals are. So no, it's a show that seems to have struck a chord with a lot of people. And I'm very, very proud of it.
And agree. And there's a lot of relatable themes, I will say. And again, we will get to that in a moment. But first, let's take a look at the trailer for the show.
Bye, Mommy.
Bye, sweetheart.
99% of the time when a child goes missing, it's a misunderstanding between parents, grandparents, nannies.
Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm here to pick up my son, Milo.
There's no Milo here.
But Milo's been missing for nearly 5 hours now. It's not a misunderstanding.
I'm so sorry. If anyone has any information, please, we beg you, come forward.
Ms. Irvine, could you contact a publishing house? Couldn't your current debt be offset by what you might stand to gain?
He's my son!
I have a picture here of Carrie Finch. So she is my son.
We found a body.
She isn't working alone.
People feel bad for me, but they don't want to talk to me. They think that he's gone.
I don't think that. We do anything for our kids.
That's our job.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection to Carrie Finch.
You don't understand. It was just the people in this room.
Is there a chance that your husband may have received a ransom notification?
He wouldn't keep something that big from me.
You, Colin, and Leah are all lying to me. You're hiding something from me, and I don't know what that is.
What are you gonna do?
I will do whatever it takes.
I think even good people can do bad things if they're pushed.
Maybe you're the reason Milo went missing.
You know, I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
Ooh, makes me want to watch it again.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
I think a good alternate title for the show is Every Parent's Worst Nightmare. It really
Yeah.
taps into the most carnal of all fears if you are a parent. And even if you aren't a parent, the guttural connection we have to the storyline is just so intense. And I was reading about Andrea Mara, who wrote the book on which the series based, and I was kind of snooping around her Instagram feed. And I was curious to see on the day that the show premiered last fall, and she had attended the premiere, she wrote the following, quote, 10 years ago today, or not 10 years ago today, but 10 years ago, I arrived to collect my daughter from a play date, only to find that no one lived in the house. For a minute, I thought she'd been kidnapped. Then I found out the family had simply moved to a new house. So 6 years ago, I decided to write about this play day for my fourth book. What a genius way of taking a real life moment of stress and really broadening it. So my question for you is twofold. When did you first discover the book as a reader? And when did the opportunity to adapt it first present itself to you?
Well, those two moments were one and the same. So I was brought the book by Carnival Films, as a production company in England that I've worked with many times before, on multiple projects, and they were looking for a big, juicy kind of Big Little Lies-ish, something in that universe, sort of domestic thriller. And they are the ones that had found this book. Nigel
Mm.
Marchant, who's my producer and the primary person that I work with. So he brought it to me and I devoured it over a weekend and instantly signed
Kind of
on.
like we did with the show, you did with the book.
Yeah, I did, so it's I can't take credit for having been the one to pluck it out and say, let's make this. That was them. They get all the credit for that.
Well, that I'm sure they appreciate that. And as someone who's in a visual medium, when you're reading the book, were you instantly able to picture the way this would play on screen?
Yes, in many ways, because Andrea has her novel set in Ireland. She's an Irish writer. And originally we didn't know if we'd necessarily also make it in Ireland or if it would move to the US or how we do it. But I mean, she's such a great author, but her stories feel, even though they have this Irish charm to them and this, things about Ireland that I find really interesting and like to read about, her stories all have that sort of universal feel in the sense that kind of misunderstanding or that moment of, oh my gosh, wait, nobody knows where my kid is, sort of that fear. There's something just so universal and guttural and visceral, as you say, about it. So it was something that you could instantly imagine on screen because it feels like something we all just know so well, that gut feeling we have about our kids.
Of course, and it's cross-cultural, and that's what I think is this could be in any language and it would still have a major impact emotionally. And I know the book is written from three distinct points of view in terms of the structure. Tell me how you landed on kind of widening the perspective in terms of the voice of the show. It's not just centered on Marissa and Jenny. It is actually told from a lot of different perspectives. So tell me how you landed on a structure for your writing process.
Sure. I mean, I've done a lot of adaptations, and when you're I know it sounds a little funny, but a lot of the process is additive more than anything else. Even a really thick, dense book won't often give you 8 episodes of television, especially 8 episodes of fast-paced television. And I always use the example of the Harry Potter books. Those books are all about 450 pages long. They're really, really big, long books. And they are filmed incredibly faithfully because the fan base is so rabid. But even that, in that situation, it's still about a 2.5 hour movie.
Right.
It's not 8
Right.
hours of television. So when you start with a book, I look at it almost like an accordion in the sense that all those ridges are all the plot points and all the great twists and turns, but how can you do this? How can you just expand? What can I add in here? If this is the great twist I have coming, or the great turn, or the great reveal, what's everything I can do to build up to that in the biggest way possible? How can what can I put in there? And so, yeah, a big part of this in terms of the POVs and the particular storylines that were developed that weren't in the book, it's all just about being additive to an incredible story, but one that wouldn't have been 8 episodes of television.
Right. And taking a character who maybe makes a brief appearance in the book and maybe expanding that person's role.
Yeah, I mean, the perfect example is Michael Peña's character doesn't exist in books. You
Right.
know what I mean? So it's like, and he gets his own episode and a whole storyline and all this, so it's just it's the wonderful freedom of adapting things. And I always am so grateful to any author that I get to adapt because, they did the hardest job imaginable, which is staring at the blank page. And
Right.
because they did that, I didn't have to. And so I kind of
Your
never
blank
forget
screen,
that.
right?
So maybe, but I'm still starting with something because of what they did. So no, so I never forget that when adapting material.
Every time I speak to a writer who works in adaptations, I always want to know what this process is. Is there just a giant wall? Are you putting up pieces of paper and blocking? I like the Carrie Mathison Homeland wall. Does your office look like that with like strings
Yes.
attached across it?
No strings. No, I don't have strings. I have Post-its and I have brown butcher paper that I put on. The other people use whiteboards, but yes,
Okay.
that is what almost every screenwriters. I don't know about novelists, but for screenwriters, yes, we have
Okay.
huge walls and they do look like the madman lives there.
Well, it's a method to the madness, right? And in terms, and I love Michael Pena, and I love his performance in this piece. Are there other characters that you broadened or wholesale created for the show?
Oh gosh, I'm trying to think wholesale created. No, but let me see. I'd have to ask. I think the disability representation in the show
I was
is
going to ask about that.
really, yeah. So it's a really it all started. I don't want to give away too much for people who haven't seen the show, but there is a slight neurological condition that comes into play later on in the series.
Yes.
And it was going to be something that Michael Pena's character was going to have to kind of know about or learn about. And again, it's that accordion thing. If I think to myself, okay, well, that's coming in 8. Like, how do I make that land in the biggest way possible?
And how is he going to know about this in an organic way in order to
Exactly.
bring
Like,
it?
how is it going to
Right.
feel, and how can that play into everything? And so I have a son with some pretty extreme cognitive disabilities. So that's my life. And so
Mm.
I've been sort of looking for the right project to put that on the screen. I didn't want it to be the main story, but to have it on the screen in some way. And this seemed like the right opportunity to do that. And hence was born his whole character and his whole situation, and the themes that we kind of lay into the show. And he's a very different kind of father than the other dads that we see in the show, and all that kind of stuff. So all of that was born from that. And I know it sounds silly. It's like this one little point in episode 8, but you do kind of work backwards sometimes with screenwriting, particularly genre screenwriting. And then once that snowball had sort of started of, wow, we're getting this incredible representation on the screen of cognitive disabilities, and it's very meaningful and important to me that we do it right and all this kind of stuff. Then we're looking at the Irvine siblings, this brother, sister, and this whole thing. And it's a matter of, well, we need to develop them more because they're just not big enough characters for the book from the book to translate into a television series. We need to do more with them. What else can we do with them? And that's how Brian's disability came to be. He's not disabled in the book, and that whole backstory,
Wow.
it didn't exist in the books.
Right.
So that's how all of that came to be. And we ended up having a show where we have cognitive neurological disabilities and physical disabilities that are depicted in a way that was done from everybody on board, from our director to obviously our producers and our broadcasters, like really trying to do it right. And at the end of the day, we're really proud of it. But that's the kind of stuff that I brought to it personally.
You know, it's so amazing. I do a lot of work with Easter Seals and sort of being a judge for films that they make and their Disability Film Challenge, which is actually going on now. And I'm
Okay.
so struck every time I watch one of these films, and there's certain criteria. Sometimes the performers have a disability or people behind the scenes, but regardless, there's nothing like authentic representation of what it really feels like, but also just the joy you can build into these characters, and that there isn't just one way to look at these characters. So I really appreciate the work you did here. I think it's
Oh,
beautiful. It
thanks.
also adds so much to the story. It really makes it more layered and interesting. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. No, I'm really, it was genuinely a joy to do. It would, and I'm very happy to say that everybody at Peacock and everybody was really behind it and on board with all of it. Like, there wasn't any resistance or any of that, kind of ugliness you could potentially run into.
Sure.
It really wasn't. It was a really positive experience from everyone from the get-go.
I love that. And I'd like to share a clip now from episode 1 that really, I think, helps set the stage for Marissa and Jenny's relationship. So let's take a look at that.
Probably shouldn't trash my husband in the women's bathroom. Classy, right?
Well, I call Richie a motherfucker to his face sometimes, so. And he doesn't even know it.
How does he not know?
I tried to learn sign language before Jacob was born. There was a mom in my prenatal class who was hearing impaired, and I just thought that, I don't know. Anyway, I didn't make it very far, but I did master a few of the curse words. So one day, Richie and I were fighting, and Jacob was in the room, so I couldn't say anything too awful. And so I made the sign for motherfucker. And he thought that I was saying, I love you, like to end the fight. And I never corrected him. So I do it now when he tells me that I'm amazing.
Yeah. I don't know how you do it all. You're so amazing, right?
I'm tired of being amazing. I don't want to be amazing anymore.
Oh, another relatable moment for anyone who feels overwhelmed, which is all of us, frankly. So in terms of casting, man, I really cannot imagine a better ensemble of people. And for Sarah to have had such an incredible run in Succession, I was so eager to see what she was going to do next. And this wasn't something I would have predicted for her, which it made it feel more exciting to see her in the different contexts in a different genre. What most spoke to you about casting her and having her anchor this story?
Well, I don't think anybody would not want to work with Sarah Snook. Just to
Right.
say that, we're all huge Secession fans and of her specifically. So for anything you're doing, you'd want to work with her. But for this role in particular, you basically have 8 episodes where almost or more or less we're going day by day through a kidnapping, in real time ish or very close context, a close contention of time. And so your kid's missing. You're going to be sobbing, you're going to be hysterical, you're going to be sleep deprived, you're going to be going through this awful, awful trauma. And I remember it was long before we went out to her, being really concerned about the caliber of actress to pull off the role, because I think if you're any less skilled than her, then you could easily just become a puddle of tears. You know what I mean? Like, or you could kind of lose a character to just crying or just sobbing or just panicking or, that kind of stuff. And I really cared about her still having a personality and still having some
She's
bite.
funny.
She's
Yeah.
still fun, you know what I mean? Like she's
Mhm.
still, you can't be at a level 10 of hysteria nonstop for 8 days. Like even with your
Right.
child missing, you know what I mean? Like at some point your personality still has to shine through and all that kind of stuff. So it's just you write letters when you send material out to actors. And I remember writing in that letter that I really knew that she was the kind of actress that had the skill set and the experience to navigate to thread that needle between I'm hysterical over my son, but I'm still human and have a personality, and it's okay to show that in parts too.
She's a
So no,
very tough person too. Really, she's been through a
she's
lot.
very
She's
tough,
incredibly successful. Right.
even though you never see her in her office because she wouldn't organically be in her office during this time. We
Right.
set her up as an extremely successful woman. Those kinds of women aren't just wilting flowers.
No.
You know what I
And they're
mean?
not
And
going to sit home while everyone else does the
no,
work and
so
tries to
you
find
have
her.
to buy it. You have to see that she could be who she is in the finance world, even though we're not showing her in the finance world. And I think she just did that excellently.
She did. And I know you filmed a lot in Australia. Is that true?
We filmed almost everything
Okay.
in Australia.
Wow. Wow.
We did a week of exteriors in Chicago, and that was it.
Wow.
Everything was filmed in Melbourne, and that house that they were in, the Peter and Marissa and Peter Irvine, that was a build on a gigantic volume soundstage in Melbourne.
Wow. I
Yeah,
kept thinking it was one of the most beautiful homes I'd ever seen. I didn't know
I
if it really
know,
existed or
isn't
not.
it?
Oh my
I
God.
know. No, I mean, the exterior of that house is a real place. Obviously,
Sure,
the
sure.
camera's way out, but inside that house, that is a build. It's a massive build. Rob Harris was our name of our designer. He did an incredible job. But I mean,
Wow.
it was a home. It had running water and electricity, and
Did
but
you
it
say,
was.
can I live here after we
Yeah,
wrap?
I mean, yeah, I think we all wanted to live there. Yeah, it's an incredible home.
What are the nuances of filming in another country, specifically Australia, that you found most charming? Are you taking tea breaks during the day? Are you having those sort of British traditions that the Aussies also enjoy?
I think what I found most charming about filming there is just the level of talent. And I'm not saying that it's just that all of our heads of departments were incredible, but also in terms of charm, I mean, I find Australians to just be really, really chill and really laid back and really not taking themselves too seriously. And everything's done with kind of a smile and a wink and you know what I mean? And just like, we'll get it done kind of an attitude. And it's really infectious and really lovely.
Mm.
So no, it was quite a long ways to travel. I live in Norway.
You
So
do? Oh my
yeah,
goodness.
so I'm
Wow.
American by birth. I've lived in Norway for about 20 years now.
Wow.
So yeah, it was from door to door, which is how I measure travel because that's what
Right.
counts. From door to door, my home door until the hotel room was about 33 hours.
Oh my
Get
God.
me there. So it was a long trip, but it was a really lovely place to film.
Wow. I'm very envious hearing you talk about it. So we spoke a little bit earlier about how this shows a wonderful intersection of great entertainment, but also, as we saw in that scene, I'm tired of being amazing. Again, this is something that all working parents, male or female, always are feeling essentially. And women tend to feel more statistically.
Mhm.
How did you balance those moments with making sure that we never lost sight of the sort of pulsating action at the center of the story? Because you also don't want to hit the audience over the head with, oh, this is a chick story. Oh, of course, it's a woman writing this. She's complaining. But you
Mhm.
did it in a perfectly nuanced way where I know just as many men who are engaged in this story, which I think is really a magic trick, frankly.
Oh, well, thank you.
Mhm.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think crime stuff appeals to both men and women. So I
Right. That
certainly
is true.
I certainly keep the crime going. So but that might have helped with some of the men,
Sure.
to keep them on board. But in terms of, just balancing those two, it's if you've planned your story, if you picked your themes well and you planned your story well, um, the themes should feed into the twists, if you understand what
Hmm.
I mean. You know what I mean? Like the
Right.
themes and the arcs and all the things that, there's a reason why I mean, I guess everyone's seen the show now, so there's no sense in not spoiling things, but
Right.
the bad person who's the bad person, like all the ways in which we set up the bad person is plays into the theme, plays into the end
Right.
and all that
Right.
kind of
That's a
stuff.
good point. Mhm.
So when that twist lands about what that person did, it should resonate with everything we've watched. You know what I mean? So
Right.
those things
Right.
should be intertwined, as best as you can, anyways. Otherwise, you have
It
things,
doesn't feel
plot lines that
out
are
of the
saying
blue.
separately.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, it's just a lot of planning, but I enjoy that. That's all the wall behind you.
Yes, I love those walls.
Not this wall. I'm in a hotel room.
I'll try to imagine all the papers on the wall. And in terms of the twists and again, we don't know if everyone has seen it, the reveals that are sort of shown at the end. What were some of the wilder theories that people were sharing with you as it was airing or even after the fact? People were catching up with the show and you had to, of course, keep it to yourself, no spoilers. But
Yeah.
what were some of those wild theories that people shared with you?
I definitely that the two husbands had teamed up together to kidnap Milo to teach the women a lesson about not being present. That was the wildest, most pessimistic one I think I
That's
heard.
pretty dark,
Like,
actually.
wow. But yeah, that's a lot of effort also to go through.
That is a lot of effort. And we
I'm not
saw
sure
with
either
some of
one of
these
those
guys,
husbands.
they're not
Yeah,
the most motivated, some of
no,
these husbands, right?
no. So I think it would have been too much work to pull that one off. But yeah, that was probably the wildest one I heard.
And I have to ask, how did you find the little actor to play Milo? He is so adorable. I just wanted to like keep looking at his beautiful head of hair, and he's just so cute in his little clothes. Where did you find him?
Well, I didn't personally find him. So we
Okay.
work closely with casting directors, David Rubin at Firefly,
Oh,
who's
he's
been
great.
casting
Mhm.
things
Mhm.
forever and is
Yeah.
absolutely just wonderful. So he's the one that really rounded out our whole cast. So he's the one that came across little
Mm.
Duke, charmed the pants off of everybody the whole time. So I can't take credit. But the
Well,
second we saw his audition tape, we all were just like, yes, that kid.
oh my God.
So
Just
yeah, he's
he's
incredible.
just too cute.
He is. He is. He's
And
a
do you
doll.
have, if you had a favorite scene or a favorite moment that ended up on screen, what would it be? Either something that maybe you labored over a lot as a writer and then finally it kind of fell into place in the way that you hoped, or maybe it was on the day of a performance that just sort of jumped off the stage.
There are multiple. There's, the bathroom scene that we just showed
Mm,
was in its full thing was really important to me. In episode 5, there was a day I was on set where, where everything goes down at the end of episode 5 and all that kind of stuff. That was a big day on set for those actors,
mm,
and they were incredible and amazing performances from everybody. But if I had to select one moment, I'm going to try to explain this without giving away
mm.
things for those of you that haven't
Yeah.
seen the show. But as a writer, I'm very proud of basically the top of episode 8, where the whole showdown happens.
Right.
And the fun thing is once it's over, you still have about 40 minutes left in the episode, which is should let you know there's a whole lot more coming.
You know, it's funny. I remember thinking, what's coming up if we're seeing
What
this
else
at the
is
top?
happening? Yeah.
Right.
But that showdown at the top of 8, it's 8 in general was such a pleasure to write. Because I really pride myself on really trying to map thrillers out very carefully, really trying to make them work and really respecting the audience, because I can't tell you how often I've invested, 4 or 6 or 8 hours into a show. And then at the end, I'm like, wait, what? Like,
Right.
come on. And I feel so cheated and so frustrated sometimes. And I don't ever want to make people feel that way. So I put in an enormous amount of work into trying to make sure that the ending felt satisfying, the ending made sense, that the ending all tracked with all the clues, that none of the clues were random red herrings, that they all fed into the explanation for what happened. Like all that stuff really matters to me, and I really care about trying to get that right. And I think the script, I think it was a third draft that went into production, which for any screenwriter out there will know that that's crazy early.
That's pretty good.
But it's because we knew what we were doing. Because I
Right.
worked so hard to get to that moment. So I think it was a third draft that went into production. And I think we did like 1 or 2 passes and the edits before it went up for approval. It was the easiest
Wow.
episode
Wow.
to do, which is not usually the case. Usually the
No.
ending is where you're trying to clean up a mess. So I'm really proud of that. I try not to pat myself on the back too much, but I admit that I'm really proud of that, how it all comes together.
Well, all your fastidious planning paid off. And by the way, when you do that much planning from the beginning, you shouldn't really have too many troubles at the end because you've laid all the groundwork for it. But, things can go
In an
awry.
ideal world, that always happens. And I do sympathize with writers out there. It's not always possible to do that, or problems that happen along the way. But
Absolutely.
this was a lot of hard work, but otherwise a very smooth process with a really great team.
Well, it felt very smooth to us, which is why I mentioned earlier before our interview, 46 million people watched the show in the first 3 weeks. That is stunning. I'm sure the numbers skyrocketed since then. But for the few people who haven't seen this, people who may be scrolling through Peacock tonight to figure out what to watch, what would be your last plug to get them to tune in to All Her Fall?
Give it 5 minutes. If you're not on board after 5 minutes, then all right, fair enough. 5 minutes. It's ding dong, that opening scene. If you're
Right.
not on board, then that's all right. That's fair enough. But
Right.
I mean, for Pete's sakes, you've got 5 minutes.
Well, that's about the peak of everyone's attention span these days anyway. So I think that works.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much again for spending time with us. Congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to our friends at Peacock and to Megan for joining us today. And to everyone watching, thank you for joining me for this installment of Half Hour With.